we have to take a look at PSG and Istanbul Basaksehir. Before I get to that, let me give you a little bit of a backstory in the soccer world. It was just a couple months ago that many of us were shocked, but at the same time proud to see the stance that Landon Donovan, head coach of San Diego Loyal in the USL, took when he felt that there was an injustice done against one of his players. In fact, there was a game where it was alleged a racial slur was used against one of his players. After the game, they launched a complaint. Landon Donovan said, "It's not good enough to complain after the fact. Sometimes you have to do something in the moment." Unfortunately, and I say unfortunately, something did happen again. This time, it was alleged that a homophobic slur was used against one of his players. This time, San Diego walked off the pitch. They forfeited the game. That blew a lot of people away. That was just a couple months ago. And now in Champions League, in that PSG Istanbul game, we saw it again because it is alleged that the fourth official used a racial slur against the assistant coach of Istanbul. Ollie, what do you make of the situation? What more do we know? And have you ever seen anything like this in Champions League?
No, I haven't seen anything like it on a couple of different fronts. You know, from what we can see, and the video is quite clear because of the lack of a crowd and so on and so forth. But from what we can see, it appears that the referee was told to send Pierre Webber, who used to, some people may remember him, used to play for Cameroon as a striker. He was told to send him off, and he asked which coach it was he was sending off. And the fourth official then identified Webbo by the color of his skin. So firstly, in terms of never seeing anything like this before, I've never seen a top-level UEFA official think that that's an appropriate way to talk about someone, to identify someone, to make that decision. Another thing I don't think, at least not to my memory, and we are reacting to this after it just happened, that we've seen in the Champions League is the players actually deciding, as San Diego did, as you mentioned in the USL, to just walk off the pitch. And Istanbul walked off, and PSG agreed with them and followed. That, I think, is probably the most significant thing about what's happened tonight in Europe, is that the players have really taken a stand and done something significant. I think it doesn't reflect well on UEFA, on FIFA, and all of these governing bodies that for so long, you know, acts of racism, racial abuse, often coming from the supporters, have not been met with sufficient punishment. You know, it's been, okay, play one game behind closed doors. It's been fines that haven't really been consequential. And I think now you're seeing that the players are going to start to take things into their own hands and say, well, if it's not going to happen at a governing level, then we're going to do it ourselves. We're not going to play. We're going to make it clear that this isn't acceptable. And I think that can have a really significant effect. And people are going to notice what these two teams have done tonight. So I applaud them for that.
Well, that's the big takeaway here, Andy, is that both clubs and their players and their staff should be applauded by taking this stand. This is a Champions League. This is a massive stage. And this is an even bigger statement made by both. If there's any debate about any player, coach, anyone involved being racially abused, they did the right thing. Walk off the field. We've seen this over the last year. I saw English players in Bulgaria be racially abused. They almost walked off the field, but they didn't at that time. An FC Porto player was abused just a few months back. This is when crowds were still in the stadium. The fans were whistling at him, and none of the players came to his defense. The unified approach is the only way to go here. On the weekend, we saw Millwall supporters start booing the fact that players were taking a knee. This is exactly why players are taking a knee, and all doing it together. And it was great to see on the positive side of things, or another positive, QPR players as well as Millwall players took a knee tonight in their game at Millwall. The QPR players took a knee after they scored a goal, and they were applauded by the Millwall players. So look, we're talking about the minority who are the culprits here, but it's going to take a unified approach by the clubs and the players to make up for the lack of leadership. UEFA, FIFA doing something serious about this issue.
Well, and that's exactly what the players did, right? To your point, took it into their own hands and said enough is enough.